What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokemon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. Last week we covered the water type starter from the Johto region for Alligator, and asked you guys which Pokemon you wanted to see this week. It was a choice between the fairy type Clefable and the dark dragon type Hydreigon, and Hydreigon won, even though Clefable would win in battle, obviously. But we have to choose a Pokemon for the 100th episode of the Pokemon DataDex, and since it's the 100th episode, we're going big. And the two choices for next week are either Charizard or Mewtwo. Both, Pokemon with two Mega Evolutions, so obviously both Megas will be covered in the one video, and all options will be sort of discovered and looked into there. So if you want to see Charizard covered with its nice black and blue Mega Charizard X and its nice wingspan Charizard Y, or if you'd like to see the nice Mega Mewtwo X and Y, the Fighting X and the sort of, not fairy but fairy-like Y, let me know down below by commenting Mewtwo. Either Charizard or Mewtwo, one with the most votes, will be covered next week, so get voting down below. But for now, this is going to be the start of Hydreigon. So Hydreigon is number 635 in the Unova Pokédex and is the brutal Pokemon. As I mentioned earlier, it is a dark dragon type, so 4 times weak to fairy, as we'll look at in the type effectiveness in a second. Dimension wise, it is 5'11", so 5 foot 11 inches, or 1.8 meters. Tall is a bit of a weird thing to use here. Wingspan's one possibility, or it could be from the tip of its tail to the top of its middle head, who knows. And it weighs 352.7 pounds, or 160 kilograms, so it's fairly heavy too. It's in the Dragon Egg group for breeding, and the male-female split is a simple 50-50, so nothing too sort of complicated there. Evolution chain wise, it's part of a 3-stage evolution chain, starting off with Dano, and Dano evolves to its next evolution, Zweilous, at level 50, so you have to be a Dano for a long time. But then after you get to Zweilous, it's only 14 more levels until you get your Hydreigon, so it's not too much after, it's just a nice long grind to get your Dano evolved in the first place. So if we take a quick look at Hydreigon's base stats, we can see its highest base stat is 120 in special, 125 rather in special attack. As you know, it's a special attacker as you might expect, but its next highest one is actually attack at 105. So it's a pretty offensive Pokemon. Even though it's generally used as a special attacker, you can use physical moves as we'll look at later on. And of course then, going further down, its speed is 98, so it's not the fastest Pokemon, but it is reasonably fast. And then going further, we have its health points at 92, and then defense and special defense at 90. So however, having these high attack stats means it's going to have low defense stats, not amazingly low, but of course if it hits a Moonblast, if it takes a Moonblast, which is 4 times weak to, it's not going to end well. Hydreigon's ability, funnily enough, is actually Levitate. Well, I mean, you might expect it, but there's only one available here. It's Levitate, and it gives immunity to ground type moves. So it's slightly different. It's one of the only Pokemon that has one ability and no hidden ability. That's not a legendary, for example. So that is, Hydreigon's ability there. As I mentioned, let's look at the type effectiveness for Hydreigon, being a dark dragon type. It resists 6 types, so grass, water, fire, electric, ghost, and dark. So a nice, good mix there. And it's weak to 5 types, fighting, bug, ice, dragon, and fairy, obviously being 4 times weak to fairy, so you have to watch out there. It's immune to 2 types, which are ground, thanks to its ability, as well as psychic, thanks to its part dark typing. And then it takes neutral from the last remaining 5 moves, which are normal, flying, poison, rock, and steel. So generally, I think that's a good typing, don't you? 6 resistances, 3 of them being grass, water, fire, which are fairly common types, as well as electric, and then goes to dark. 2 immunities, 1 partly due to its ability, but what are you going to do? But the only real thing to watch out here, that's why Hydreigon's taken a bit of a hit in Generation 6, is Fairy type came in, and it's a nice strong weakness for Hydreigon to suffer. So that's what you need to watch out for there, but let's continue on and look at the moves you might want to use for Hydreigon. So the one level up move we have here is level 32, and this is Dragon Pulse. Not the most powerful dragon type move, but it's a pretty powerful special move for dragons. So get some good stab on it, do some decent damage, why not? A couple of TMs. First one, TM12 Taunt. If you want to use Hydreigon in this sort of manner, you can force it to attack you to stop other Pokemon setting up with stat boosters, or possibly, if you're using it as a lead, to stop Stealth Rock, Spikes, stuff like that. So you can carry that move to counter some Pokemon. Then we have TM19 Roost. It can learn it, despite not being a flying type, which is pretty good because it can give you some nice health point restoration. Of course, Hydreigon, not very high defenses, so it's not a sort of Pokemon you'd want to sort of attack and roost with, but you can use roost in some situations. Then we have TM38 Fire Blast. It's a nice powerful fire type move Hydreigon has access to, special as well, so basically it's just coverage move there that you could run. And then we have TM89 U-Turn, a physical move, bug type obviously, and it's just useful, if you switch Hydreigon out and oh no, a fairy type or a Pokemon that has a fairy type move, let's just U-Turn, do a bit of extra damage on the way out, and get back to our party to avoid being completely destroyed. Then the last TM we have here is TM97 Dark Pulse, so they get stab on that. It's a pretty powerful special dark type move, so you can certainly think about running that. Then we have one tutor move, and this is the Dragon Tutor, which is obviously going to give us Draco Meteor, a very powerful Dragon type move, special once more, basically an upgraded version of Dragon Pulse, so it's up to you whether you run Pulse or Meteor. Pulse, lower power, but it doesn't have the downside that Meteor does, which is that it harshly reduces your special attack when used, so you certainly want to sort of mediate your use of that move. Then we have two tutor moves from Auras, one being Iron Tail, it's a physical move. As I mentioned, you can run physical attacking sets on Hydreigon, it's not too common, but you can run it, especially in the fact that obviously if you use Draco Meteor, you just lost your special attack stat, you're not going to do any damage anymore, so you could run Draco Meteor, one other special move like Fire Blast, and then physical moves, because then once you use Draco Meteor, you can then back yourself up with some physical moves, not as powerful as Draco Meteor obviously, but still more powerful than your special moves now that you've lost some health point, or lost some special attack stats. The other tutor move is Superpower, which is actually quite similar to Draco Meteor. Obviously when you use Superpower you get a drop in your attack and defense, so it's sort of similar to Draco Meteor in the sense that it nullifies the attacks that you're using. Also lowers your defense though too, so it's very risky to use, but it can be run. So let's have a look at the Wi-Fi battling sets for Hydreigon to find out how you might want to use these moves and stuff like that. The first one is going to be your sort of generics attacking set with a Life Orb, and the second one is going to be a Choice Scarf set. First one we have Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Superpower or Fire Blast, and then Roost or Iron Tail as the moves. Ability of course is going to be Levitate. Nature is Hasty or Timid. Held item as I mentioned is a Life Orb, and then the EVs we're going to have maximum special attack, maximum speed, and then the rest either in attack or health points. So the moves, Draco Meteor and Dark Pulse, you 2 stabs. Of course Draco Meteor you want to use sparingly, just to sort of one-hit kill a Pokemon and then switch out afterwards. Superpower or Fire Blast is up to you. Superpower is the option here, once you use Draco Meteor you can actually stay in battle for a turn or two more if you want. Fire Blast is the other option if you don't want to rely on your physical attack stat at all. And then Roost or Iron Tail, you can run Superpower and Roost, or Fire Blast and Roost, is up to you whether you want the sort of the health point restoration or the extra physical attack with Iron Tail. Nature option here, Hasty or Timid. If you're running either Superpower or Iron Tail, you want to run Hasty so you don't basically lose attack stats. And if you're not running it, if you're just running Fire Blast and Roost, you can run Timid because obviously it gives you a speed boost, and Hasty gives you a speed boost too, but it also lowers your physical attack, and if you're not using it, you may as well lower it. Held item being a Life Orb just gives you extra power on your moves, and nothing too special there. And then the EV is maximum special attack and speed, so you're faster and deal more damage specially. And then rest in attack or health points, of course if you're running Superpower or Iron Tail you may as well put the extra few points in attack. If you're not, you may as well put them in health points or one in defense if you wanted to. How would you use this set? Well, it's a basic sort of attacking set, but of course you have to watch out with your move usage, because Draco Meteor and Superpower if you're running it. Want to go in, as I said, the only time you want to use Draco Meteor is when either you're going to die, so you may as well use it anyway, or you are confident you can one-hit kill the enemy Pokemon with that Draco Meteor, because you can use it, you'll lose special attack stats, but then that's alright because you can switch out afterwards and you're not needed until later on in the battle, where you can come back in again and use Draco Meteor once more. You don't want to be in the case of use Draco Meteor, you don't kill them, they've done some damage to you, and you're just sat there like, right, so I could switch out, I could stay in and do a bit more damage, or it's sort of a difficult position, so you're looking to one-hit kill with it basically, otherwise you're just going to nullify your use in battle. What else would you do? Well, of course if you're running Superpower you can stay in after you use Draco Meteor. If just use Draco Meteor, kills the Pokemon, they send in a rock type. Of course they might not necessarily know you have Superpower or Iron Tail, so you can be sneaky and use one of those to do some extra damage with them not expecting it, with them expecting you to switch out, for example. So that's the way you can use that there. That's the first set. If we have a look at the second set, Choice Scarf, as I mentioned, so similar, but a slightly few different things. We have Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, or Dragon Pulse here, and then U-turn. Ability again is Levitate, Nature is Time is a Timid one always, and then held item is a Choice Scarf as I mentioned, and the EV is very similar to before, maximum special attack and speed, and the rest in special defense, although you could put this in physical defense or even health points. So the moves here, Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse are your main stabs. Fire Blast is again coverage move, but you can run Dragon Pulse instead if you want to, because if you don't want to, if it's a Choice Scarf set basically, yeah, you can either come in, if you use Draco Meteor, cool, you do a lot of damage, you lower your special attack, but then you're choiced into it. However, you would be choiced into it anyway, so it's a bit of a, it's different here than the Life Orb set, because you're going to either have to use the same move again, which would be Draco Meteor with lowered special attack, or you switch out. So if you want to use more, if you want to keep going, if you want to be in battle for a decent amount of time and deal with more than just one Pokemon, of course you don't want to be using Draco Meteor, because then you just lower your effectiveness each time, and you'd have to switch out eventually anyway, even if the matchups are good for you. Whereas if you're running a Dragon Pulse, say the enemy's on low health, you don't have to use Draco Meteor, and then Dragon Pulse could do, as opposed to using Dark Pulse, which might not be very effective against future Pokemon. It's just an option you guys can run. Of course, you could also run Dragon Pulse in the last set. In the last move rather, but U-turn is there for a case of you go in, oh wait, Fairy type, oh U-turn, obviously it's Choice Scarf, so you can U-turn, you can't like Dragon Pulse, oh wait, I'll go now and U-turn has to be used the first turn, yeah, I don't know. So it's up to you, what sort of orientation you use those sets in, but obviously Timid Nature for your speed, because we haven't got hugely high speed, so we may as well boost that a bit, and of course Choice Scarf is going to help that out a lot, and Choice Scarf, U-turn, Timid, you're always going to be going first, basically, unless you're going for a really fast Pokemon. So you'd actually have to U-turn out before they attack you, which is a good thing about it. And the EVs again, maximum special attack and speed, because why not? And then the rest in special defense, because it's just one of the options. How would you use this set? Well, Choice Scarf set, as you might expect. You use it like any other choice set. You go in, use an attack, use more than one attack if you want to, and then you leave. That's basically it. Of course, if you switch in, and then you're like, wait, oh no, they're going to have a Fairy type move, or if they switch one in after that, you can use U-turn. And you can try and predict, if you switch in, if you know they've got a Florges in the background, in the back of their party, you can think, right, they're going to switch Florges in because they might predict the Draco Meteor, so they'll switch them in to be immune and then go back. So I'll use U-turn here, I'll U-turn on them, then they'll switch out, or they'll switch out and then they'll U-turn, one of those orientations, and then you'll be able to choose what Pokemon's using against the Florges. It's all mind games, guys. So that's the choice set there. Those are the sets for Hydreigon. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, and of course, don't forget to vote for next week's Pokemon for the 100th episode of the Pokemon DataDex. We have either Charizard or Mewtwo. Let me know which one you want to see down below by just commenting Charizard or Mewtwo. Simple as that. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.